Welcome back, everybody, to our final installment of our summer devotional as we have been making a pilgrimage through the Holy Land. Today we begin a little bit off the beaten path. We had the opportunity to head all the way up to the very tip of Israel on the border of Lebanon and Israel. And that gate you see there, actually, if you were to walk through that gate, you would be in the nation of Lebanon. Our tour guide had a buddy who was actually a Kiwi farmer and owned property up there. And we had the chance to go up to that area. And so the two things I really want to share with you, first of all, is we were able to glean the fields there in North Israel. He told us any fruit we find on his fields that we were welcome to pick and eat. And it just reminded me so much of God's call to the Israelites, to all of us, to make sure to always care for the sojourner, the person that is in need, the person passing through town, so to speak. And to not go over our fields a second time, but to always make room for them. But the other thing I want to share with you is these two pictures right here. This one picture of red clay and farm is actually 180 degrees from this picture right here. And this second picture of a little bit nicer area, a little bit nicer farmland, that's Israel. And this picture of red clay, that's Lebanon. And this farmer just kept saying over and over again, I will bless the people who bless me, and I will curse the people who curse me. And just to see that stark contrast, literally across the street. I took these photographs through the bus while we were parked in a single place, and it blew my mind as he just continuously said, I will bless the people who bless me, and I will curse the people who curse me. Next, I want to take you to a place called Mount Precipice. This is a scripture I've heard many times over, but being there put it in a brand new light. And not just because I got to meet this awesome pup here, who I still have no idea if this dog just lives on Mount Precipice or if it was someone's dog, but he kept coming up to me. I kept petting him, and I made a new friend. But the scripture that this refers to is in Luke chapter 4, when Jesus was rejected at his hometown of Nazareth, when he had gone into the synagogue and was given the scroll of the prophet Isaiah, who was speaking about the coming Messiah. And he told the people there in Nazareth that today that scripture was fulfilled in their hearing. He also told them that they will most likely say to him, physician, heal yourself, and that he would not do any miracles there. And the people were so furious that they took him out of town with the intention of taking him up on this mountain and throwing him off. And as you can see, there are jagged rocks all down the backside of this mount where they would have taken him. But for some reason, they just stop. At the top of the mountain, they just stop. And Jesus is able to walk through the crowd and leave peacefully. So the question I've always had is, why? I mean, the Bible doesn't really give us any context except they got up here and then just stopped. Now, of course, there is the reality that our God knows all things and can do all things, and he knew it was not his time yet, so he knew how it would turn out. But going up this mount myself, I got to tell you that I was exhausted by the time I got up there. I mean, it doesn't look like it's really that big of a climb, but it really is a steep uphill walk. And if I was with a crowd of people who were yelling and their adrenaline was up. By the time they got up to the top of this mount to throw Jesus off the backside of it, they would have been exhausted. And the thing that struck me the most as I stood there on the mount, thinking about the fact that as Jesus walked up there, he would have known what was about to happen, that this was going to go absolutely nowhere, is sometimes God just lets us throw a fit, get it out of our system, as he sits there and patiently waits for us, and then just says, okay, now it's time to move on. How great is it that we serve such a patient God that he lets us throw our temper tantrums and yet still says, okay, now that you got that out of your system, let's do what we're supposed to do. I would be remiss if we didn't at least take a moment to stop by the Jordan River where Jesus Christ was baptized. And I got a chance to be like my Jesus and reaffirm my baptism. I want to say, yes, the water really is that beautiful, and it was very cold. These photos have not been edited. That really is as bright as the water is there. I also want to show you this area right here. It's called Tel Dan. And the reason that it's important is because in the Old Testament, when Abraham went to go rescue Lot from the kings that had kidnapped him, Scripture tells us that it was in the city of Dan that this happened. Now, what you're looking at was made about 200 years after Abraham rescued Lot, so about 1750 BC. But this mud brick city entrance is still the city gates of where Dan would have stood, and potentially the main center part right there would be where Abraham would have come through to rescue his nephew Lot. Here's one that we've talked about in worship once or twice. This is called Mount Hermon, and it is where the temple of Pan, the Greek god Pan, was. In this mountainside, they would have put many idols, and there would even be so many idols that they would rotate them through. There was human sacrifices done here, and so many human sacrifices were made that their goal was to get this river here to run red. There is a natural spring that is in this cave right here that goes really far down. And the pagans believed that that was the portal between this world and their gods. For the Jewish people, they believed that it was the portal between us and evil, and so it was often called the gates of Hades or the gates of hell. And so this is the spot that Jesus Christ would have taken the disciples to when he asked them, "Who do people say I am?" And with all of that screaming and yelling and chanting in the background, the apostles probably would have been kind of stumbling over their words. Some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, some say one of the prophets of old. And Jesus says, "But who do you say I am?" And it is here that Peter says, "You are the Messiah." And there's a chance that Jesus would have pointed back at that mountainside covered in all those idols and said that, "Yes, Peter, you are right. And it is upon this rock that I will build my church, and not even the gates of Hades, the gates of hell, will be able to stand up against it." I want to take you to Cana in Galilee, the site where Jesus performed his first miracle of turning water into wine at a wedding, where he took the symbol of ceremonial cleaning, the stone water jars, and he made it into something that would be our new symbol of being cleansed, what later would become part of the sacrament of Holy Communion, the element of wine. And lastly, I want to take you to the port city of Joppa. This is on the Mediterranean Sea, and this is the city that Jonah would have fled to when he was trying to run away from God. This is the place where God used Paul to raise Tabitha or Dorcas back to life again. This is the place where God would have called Paul to go and visit with Cornelius, the first Gentile who he would preach to, as well as the place where he would have the vision of the sheet, and God would declare all foods clean for us. As a matter of fact, where we're going right now is down a back corridor there in Joppa to a door where today this family says that it was their ancestor living in this place who's known as Simon the Tanner, the person that Simon Peter, the apostle, was staying with at the time when he had that vision. And so, my friends, this is where I want to leave us, at the bridge between the fulfillment of the prophecies of the Old Testament through Jesus Christ, being preached by Paul, and now moving into us as Gentiles, as we recognize and realize that the promises of God and the saving grace of Jesus Christ is for every last person. I hope you have enjoyed this pilgrimage through the Holy Land, and it has helped your walk with Jesus Christ.